Okay.
All right, we are ready, except for my background, which has been I don't know.
Okay. Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to today's live, the most special one for me. Today's live is one of its own kind. Today I am super excited, too emotional, and yeah. So just excuse my emotionality here, me being overexcited and emotional and all that, because this is the day for me to celebrate. I was like, really, I was crying, I was shedding tears because it is a big deal for me today. Today was Dave Syl's first podcast. Okay, not the first in this sense, but with this
First, really
professional.
professional podcast, if you want to
Yes,
say it that
yes, the true professional podcast of this. Okay, one first of the series of many. I'm just saying many because Syl is going to share the news, of course. But this was today's was the first of these series of long series of coming podcast, and today is the day where I see that person where he okay, it is not there yet, but it is the first step towards where he belongs. Really,
oh,
I feel that personally, and this is what really, and I want people to hear him, more people to listen to what he is sharing, what he has been sharing, of course, throughout the time. And I'm one of the luckiest one in this case that I just grabbed this opportunity. I saw the Moreness, I grabbed it, never leave it, and I just persisting on that. And this is a big deal for me today. Syl, congratulations. Really,
oh,
really a
thank you,
big
thank you,
congrats, a big
thank you, thank
congrats.
you,
I
thank you.
know that it should not be a big deal for you because this is a long awaiting thing. It is like duh, you were not really excited as I was,
Oh,
and
I
which is
am,
of yeah,
yes.
you are happy but not as excited as I am
Oh, thank
because
you, Beena. Thank
this is
you, thank
natural
you,
to you.
thank
It
you.
was
Wonderful.
it's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
It's okay. It was like, okay, yes, it is going to be like the dirt thing. It is going to happen
yeah.
sooner or later. And they said, okay, it's not too late. It happened today. It started today, and it is not going to end now. It is just like, okay, going to compound. We will see the snowball effect now. We will see that how things are going to change, and we all are so excited. My whole family was so excited, and I know that, okay, some of our friends were also so excited. It was a brief interview as compared to our lives. It was just a glimpse of it, just a glimpse of Syl. But even those glimpses really made an impact,
Yeah.
really made a huge deal.
Yes,
I
yes,
do take it,
yes. More than you realize what you're saying. I'll explain in a
exactly,
moment.
exactly. And okay, no matter how much I try to, I put my effort to live deliberately and not take things for granted. And especially Syl, because he always reminds me, because he is always living deliberately and not take things for granted. But still, when you have this level of moreness in your life on a regular basis, you kind of like, okay, yeah, because Syl have really give me caution that, don't assume that what you have, everybody also have that. It's a big deal because sometimes I just assume that, okay, it's like, yeah, people will understand, oh, it's a normal thing. But it is normal for me because I have this opportunity to have to enjoy this, to extract this moreness and value, but not everyone. And that is something. When I was listening to his interview, it was for me, it's too short for Syl. Okay, Syl, you have to talk more about yourself, because for me this is like a regular thing, but it was a big huge thing for others. It was a big huge thing, and we got it was not, I'm not just saying that, we got some really amazing proofs of that also, that just after that it was like a big bang theory, like there, wow. So again, congratulations, Syl. This is the start of a new era, of a new noble era. It's a new nobility era. And it's a okay. You have no sound, Syl. You have no sound. Sorry, no sound. No sound, Syl. No sound. No sound.
Yes, yes. Well,
No.
well, well. I
Oh,
I muted because I'm on the call with the producer. the senior vice
Okay. So
president,
please,
right?
please continue. Please
It's
continue.
okay. I'm on hold right now. They're just transferring me
Okay.
to the bureaucracy to take care of all the details, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm going to be talking in a moment. I'm waiting for them to connect.
Yes.
I
No
have to
problem.
connect to the
No
person,
problem.
finalize all the details.
I,
What?
I will not get tired with sharing all these excitements. So please.
Oh, you're so wonderful, Beena. Thank you,
Yeah.
sweetness. Thank you. Yes. Hi, Ashley.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so while Syl is busy talking with of course the producer and everything, okay, there's so many people calling him just right away. I don't want to share the news with everyone like right now because I want him to say that this is something a big, huge deal from way of impeccability point of view also to acknowledge and accept the moreness we have. This is something we need to. Yes, we do talk about that. Okay, everything is normal. Okay, yes, I'm a mature person. I have this deliberate lifestyle, and I am living deliberately. But it's still to really, really accept the moreness and accept that value, and acknowledge yourself in totality, in entirety, and in the moreness. It's a big deal, and Syl is going to actually really do this with us, like in front of us. He is going to do that, and I don't want to snatch this opportunity, of course, because I want to see that. Again, it's a selfish business right here. It's about self growth, so I want to see him to accept and acknowledge that moreness, and acknowledge that, and the self-appreciation moment from him. It's a big day for us. Since I know him, I knew that from the very moment, very, very first moment, that it is not something usual. It is not something common. It is not something which I can or anyone can take for granted. And that's why not a single day. I never lose this. I never deliberately lose this. Yes, ups and downs in life, they always happen, of course, because our ego push us to do otherwise completely, other than your really innate goodness. Your ego sometimes push you to do that. But the value was so mesmerizing for me that I cannot see any other thing. Like really, I couldn't do that. I couldn't leave anything actually. And this is what happened. And today was the day, or is the day, finally, I saw that what I was seeing and was not able to elucidate in detail with everyone, that okay, why I'm still sticking to this. People saw that immediately. Other people also saw that immediately. They were just looking at it, and they were like, okay, wow. So okay, again, I'm too excited, too emotional, and just of course I'm not going to hide this. I still remember the first day when I got this opportunity, and when Syl offered me that, okay, yes, you can do this. I was literally physically jumping on my bed. I had no idea what it was, but my subconscious was aware of the value and the moreness. So I literally, that was the way I got it. I was not aware even what I really got, but it was something which was telling me that it is going to be really, really, really valuable in my life, and it is going to transform my life. I was not a miserable person. I was not living a miserable life. But that is the magic of moreness, that you don't need this, but you really, really look for that. When you have this awareness that life is not just okay being comfortable in your way of being or in your life is more than that. And that was the moment my consciousness was aware of it. And today is the same day again. Today is the beginning of a new era for us. I'm really, really happy. I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat this today. So don't get bored with that. I'm going to repeat this because I don't know any other way to express my happiness today, express my joy today, express my gratitude towards universe, because it's not about that Syl is my friend, so that's why only this is the only reason I'm happy. But to see really, really good people to get this acknowledgement is a big deal for me, because it is going to set the parameters for others, that it is not just a talk thing. it is really a life transformation right there, and they innate good people also get value in of course and abundance and all these things, and of course acknowledgement and appreciation also in life. That's why it is so important for me to see good people getting into and getting there where they actually belong. It's not about be okay, deserve or not. I hope Norma will be here with us, and I was missing you, Norma. I must not, but I was. Okay, it was that. Okay. I know that. Okay, Syl says that you have some prior engagement, which is also good. But it's a big day. It's a big day to celebrate. It's a big day to enjoy this moreness.
Yes, yes. I was listening with half an ear while
Oh wow!
all
Oh
the
wow!
all the bureaucracy gets taken care of and processed and everything. But I was enjoying what you're saying, Beena. It's so marvelous. And that's why I have two headsets on because I was using the other headset there. But luckily I have very
Okay.
good microphones and they work really well. So it's all
Okay.
brilliant.
Okay.
All brilliant. All right. So
I was
what's
just
happened
sharing my
is
heart. I was just talking about. So please share, Syl.
it's so
Where
beautiful what you were sharing, Beena. It's so beautiful. Thank you. Wonderful.
So please do share what happened today.
Okay, so what happened today is that basically the world blew up over there, right?
Yes.
My
Yes.
interview, two things. First of all, connectivity with the host. And we had very good connectivity, but that's not enough. When the show blows up, in other words, they get lots of calls, lots of input, and, like goes off the charts, right? Then the host can nominate or say, I want this person to be professional of the year. Now, obviously, they do multiple of these interviews. That's all they do, right? All day long, they do in these PBN network, right? They one of the top 1.5% of all podcasts. They right up there at the very top, right? So they do multiple interviews a day, right? And she's not the only one that does interviews. They have a couple of people that do them, right? But and then they nominate all the different hosts can nominate somebody to be professional of the year. It's a one-time deal, obviously, right? You can't have two professionals of the year. You can only have one. And what this means is that if you get nominated, well, she just said she went up to head office and they called me back and said yes, happy to make me professional of the year. and and what this entails is obviously much more attention because if now the show next time we go next week, Jill will introduce me as the professional of the year for PBN, right? For PBN network. This is a huge deal. Obviously, much more attention, and all the sponsors want to. They compete because obviously they're a professional business and they have sponsors that we didn't hear any of the ads like when I was doing the show, the interview, but they were before and after their ads, they play my ad. So, it's a professional podcast. It's like a radio station, essentially, really. I mean, this I was explaining to Norma. What is a podcast? Which I love the question. But this is, it's like a radio station, and they run ads. Anyway, so now being professional of the year, my show gets elevated in terms of its importance and the extra interviewer thing, and they're going to promote this because remember, the what they said to me was we're going to do 10 interviews and five on video, five on audio only. Now it's likely all going to be on video, but anyway, um, then then also they promote the show. They air the show 200 times over the year. So obviously now these shows are going to get a lot more attention from them, right? Because much like TV and radio, you have reruns, right? Because not everybody can hear the things at the same time. So now we're going to do more shows. We're going to do double the amount of shows, right? So and they said they're going to extend it. He said by another 7 shows, but he says usually that goes more, and so likely we'll end up doing 20 episodes. But here's the big deal, right? Being professional of the year, I get invited to Charles Smith by invite only. Now, this is on YouTube, and that's what I was also busy doing right there as we started. So, Charles Smith, right. You can. He's on YouTube. Is the place to find him, Beena, for his interviews, right? So this is Charles Smith, a former NBA player who has this interview series, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal, right? This is like, yes, it's on YouTube, but they go on cable and all stuff, right? And going on there, it's like you're going on a talk show, essentially, an interview show, and they, at least typically, the producer, this this executive vice president, he actually is not a producer. His job is to take care of me. That's his job entirely for the rest of the year now, right? To make sure that all my interviews go and all this, right? So I've got this guy assigned to me. He's the number 3 in the whole company, and all his job is just to make sure I'm happy. And he said, like, if we do shows, whatever I want, I can redo, no problem. So that's, just I have all the input there from him. Anyway, so going on the Charles Smith show, this is a huge deal. He says that at a minimum, 100,000 hits they get on these shows, right? But he says typically it's more like 250,000. So I mean, this is you. He says you become a household name from being on these shows, right? So I don't know about household name. Maybe he's exaggerating a little bit, but at least he's saying that you're now putting it out into the world. There, you are now a big deal, and obviously to be on the Charles Smith show means that others are going to want me on the show, right? Because once you start on this and it's popular and goes well, and the reason I'm there is because of this show that we did today went crazy, right? All their lights lit up. It's like when I did the 5-minute interview, I had the most there, too, you know. So anyway, it's going down very well, and going on the Charles Smith show, this is a very big deal. It's a very, very big deal, and that's what Beena is excited about, saying where I belong. Which, thank you very much, Beena. This is massively, massively, massively appreciated. Your support here and your appreciation and awareness is a very big deal. And Beena was sharing something that she is aware of my modesty, yes, and humility. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't think I belong there, but it's not something that, ambition and being this, not an issue for me. If it happens, it happens. Like now, yes, it's fun. Yes, it's exciting. Yes, it's good. It's marvelous. It's brilliant because I get to share more. But it's not something that I ever thought I should have or expect or must have or anything like that, right? So, and Beena was making this distinction, and as appropriate, right? It's just how it is.
Yes.
That shadow. So now
Yes.
I get to share in big time. Yes, I'm being recognized, in other words, by the industry. And of course, it's a start. Yes, to go from there.
Exactly.
So this is very cool. And also the billboards being part of Professional of the Year, the billboards get extended more. It's just a lot of stuff involved. Right? Again, obviously, from their point of view, just to understand the logic here, when they see that somebody is getting phenomenal response, reaction, they run with it because they're a business, right? So when they got a hot commodity, they maximize it, which is what professional media is, right? They're taking this hot commodity and they are getting the absolute most mileage that they can out of it. That's why they extend the shows and put you on Charles Smith. And now, of course, when you get a show that getting great viewer response, you can charge more for your advertising, right? business, right? I'm happy. It works for me. It's just good to understand the moreness involved. Yeah. No, this is very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Business actually, okay, we take it in a bit of, okay, not negative, but yes, not so nice way. But businessmen and business-minded people, they are very open and clear.
Oh yeah.
They don't shy away. They don't try to manipulate. They don't try to, okay, manipulate in a particular way. Of course they do, but in a different way. But they don't try to actually hide that, okay, and try to portray something else. They mean business, and if they see value, this is the value. That's it. No nonsense there.
Now the key criteria here was my connection with Jill, right? Now, Jill, she's a celebrity interviewer. She's interviewed all the top celebrities, Brad Pitt, you name it, right? I don't even remember all the names of all the people that she's interviewed, right? Like on the Oscar red carpet, she's done interviews there, right? So this is what she does. She's a professional interviewer of celebrities. PBN network, who she works for, and she works for other news things, other things too, right? Like news TV stations. Anyway, doesn't matter where she works, but her job is interview. Now, what was important here was the connection between Jill and I, right? That we have a good rapport, we have a good connection going, because otherwise you don't have good interviews. And also, she's excited because the topic, what I represent, matters to Jill. This is very important. And I said to Beena beforehand that I want to make sure that what I share connects with Jill.
Yes.
And it did. And this is why this is a big deal, because she's able to recognize that here's a Moreness that is going to be something that to put out there into the world that is transformative. It's a big deal, right? It's changing. It's a societal, cultural changing deal. It's a big, big deal. I'm not just saying, oh, I've got another new book. Yeah, so what? A lot of people have got another new book. It's about the what. It's this new culture, this new understanding. And look how she responded when she brought her children into it. You know, when you're talking about it was so short and so quick, but when people bring their children into it personally, yeah, that's now you're bringing your personal life into it. And people who know about celebrity know that you don't easily bring your children into the conversation. Most celebrities don't even want the public to know they have children, right? So it's quite a big deal that she mentioned that. A very big deal, actually. Huh? Anyway, the bigger point here is that with this professional of the year and and being invited now that I'll be on the Charles Smith show, this is huge because you're now starting to get into where you become a public, right?
Yes.
That's a very big deal.
Yes, it is a big deal. It is a big deal.
Very big deal. Very, very big deal. You know, I haven't even shared all the stuff. I was so excited. I did go live. We are live, right? Yeah. Where's the show? Did I send it to the right group? I hope so. I'm not seeing it, Beena. Are you seeing it? Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay, let me check.
Yeah, it's here. It's here. It's here. I was in such a hurry to get going because I was busy on the phone and everything. So,
yes.
You know, to share it to the group, I have to type the letters SAS.
Yes.
It brings up the group, but it may have brought some other group. I thought that maybe we're live in somebody else's group. All right.
Okay, so what's the next this call about?
Which
producer?
call? Which one?
Yeah,
I didn't understand your question.
I'm just saying that, okay, you got a call from the senior vice president first, and the second call just now during live.
That is just to connect to the bureaucracy, just so they get all the details and, you know, just finalizing this to say, yes, you're in it. These are your details, you know, phone numbers, whatever, all that stuff, right? And then also they're going to send me an email with all the details. So that's bureaucracy, just finalizing it.
Okay.
You always got to have bureaucracy involved, you know. That's the true power in the world, is bureaucracy. Important to understand and be aware of bureaucracy. All right, so I'm just finishing. I'm done with the sharing. So very cool, very cool, very cool. This is just most exciting, as we say.
It
is exciting again. I really want to make very, very clear why it is exciting. My excitement and Beena's slightly different, and I love Beena for her excitement. really and truly. It is very appropriate and very beautiful. And uh, Beena is excited for me that I am being recognized for what I am. I don't have that as an ambition, and Beena doesn't think so either. So it's not inappropriate what Venus feeling. She's saying this is a rightness to it. It's appropriate in the
Yes.
universal scheme of things. My excitement is that I don't care whether I'm recognized or not. I do care about sharing what I have to share. Yes, I don't feel
Yes.
like I have to. I'm not on a mission to do this. It's all part of attunement. I never looked for this. It came to me. Yes. So
Yes.
it to me, I'm purely in attunement. Now attunement is saying, yes, yes, your stuff is important, your stuff matters. You got to put it out there to the world. Right? And this is why I'm excited, is that I am sharing the things in a platform in a way where it gets appreciated for what it really is. You know, let me say this in another way. Uh, you know, there's a saying, and I'm trying to remember how it goes now, but essentially is that you never recognized in your own village, right? In your own hometown, right?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, exactly. We have a saying in Urdu. It says that "Ghar ki murgi dal barabar," which means that your own house made chicken dish is equal to lentil soup. That's it.
There you go. There you go. Wow. Excuse me eating. I'm very hungry after all that excitement. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, and this is what I was sharing. That for you, I was observing. I do observe because when someone is practicing, whoever, okay, all the participants, when they come and they share, okay, and they're just talking and doing, I do observe because it's not about that, okay, they are, okay, of course, personally, they are my friends and I do appreciate them, but also because that whoever is practicing way of impeccability's perspective, and of course ideas and philosophy in life, really applying it, I want to see that how it is actually materializing. So when Syl, of course, because I was observing, he says, Veena, okay, yes, he's been thorough, doing everything prepared, all those things, okay, technical things you don't need to prepare, and this is what he was not doing. The only preparation was to just try to set into the time, the duration, 30 minutes, because it is so
I
much.
lost my time
That
sense.
was
I thought
the
it was
only,
2 minutes, but anyway.
yes, that is the only preparation he was like trying to, so I tried, okay, 2 3 times it was like, okay, yes, trying to be there, because the way, and of course the nature of this whole program and project, Moreness project, it cannot be done in limited time period, like, okay,
Oh,
yes, or just 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It's just impossible because it's a new thing. When you share something new, you need to provide the context, why it is needed, how it happened, all sort of things. You cannot just start your story just by, okay, out of nowhere and just starting that. No, you cannot do this because it's a life-changing thing, and it's a big serious matter. So that's why it needs a lot of details and nuance shared in a detailed time and of course effort. So that's why. But that was the only preparation. But but for him it was like duh. Like for me, if I'm going somewhere like doing lives, I'm coming, for me, I don't need to prepare because this is what I do. It's innate. It's now natural. This is how we share things. This is exactly for him. This is how it was, even though even before being selected as a professional of the year, that was still a big deal. But for Syl, I was like, okay, yes, it is what it is. You don't need to, because this is all innate. Of course, it is created and of course compiled, and also many ways I can say that about the Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness project. He did. So for him, no preparation needed. Just first try to encapsulate things, of course, as appropriate in that during the duration. That was the only thing. And this is the benefit. This is the real application. This is the result of way of impeccability and bonus. When you practice, when you live, it's not practice even, it is living. When you live impeccably, I can say about Syl in many ways that he is and appropriate, then this is how these things happen. Like if I would say to someone just sitting and watching us, if I would say, "Oh, you have won the like a 10 billion or trillion lottery," how they will react? First, they might not believe, of course. Second, if it happened, then it will be like, "Oh my God, it's a big deal. It's a big deal." And then, of course, third, the overwhelm, and also that worriness and all those things will come in. But once you live impeccably, once you know and understand the attunement, and once you are aware of yourself, deliberately aware of yourself, this calmness only comes when you are aware of yourself. It's not a false ego that, oh, I'm nothing, I'm humble and all that. No, no nonsense. Yes, he was avoiding because, of course, some other reason. There are reason for that, to avoid
Uh,
this.
uh,
but but it's not a false ego or like, okay, I'm trying to be humble and I'm nothing and I'm just okay, I'm just a carpet and you can walk over. This is actually, this is exactly how some spiritual sects I have observed in my culture in India and Pakistan. They deliberately do that. I'm a carpet, okay, so you can walk over. This is what they do with, they try, because they say that, okay, they get
not
this
for me.
false idea that, okay, this is how they can get rid of their ego, and so many other practices also, which is, I'm not criticizing anything, but I'm saying that, okay, this is not way of impeccability and
No.
Moreness Project. This is not. So this is what is different. This is what makes it different with all other ideologies and philosophies and practices. So that is something, yes. Okay, so the only thing was the big task, the huge task for you to encapsulate things in 30 minutes.
Yes, 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 yes. To me, it's not to share everything in the 30 minutes, but to get started. And that's
Yes,
what we did. I mean, I knew
yes.
beforehand, even though the time went quicker than I thought,
Hmm.
I knew that I have to share a start. And what I
Yes.
did was more than enough. Now I can take each half an hour show.
Hmm.
I think the Charles Smith ones are an hour. Actually, I don't know. The Charles Smith one might only be one. It's like going on Oprah or something like that.
Hmm.
It's a big deal. So I don't know if there are multiples of that. I got the idea it's just only one. But anyway, I think that's longer. My point is,
Hmm.
on the shows with Jill now, I can take one point and elaborate on that for the half hour.
Yes.
Huh? And build
Yes.
it and build it and say, oh, chapter one today. Next week, going to do this. Huh? Very cool.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I wanted to say on the excitement of what's coming and about being recognized. All celebrities will tell you, I'm just a regular person. Yes. You hear this all the time. Now, of course, they're not regular people, but that's how they feel about themselves. If when people like they you get to win a prize, spend a day with a celebrity or whatever, and the people always say, well, just like a regular person. This is very common. You hear this about celebrities, right? You know what I mean, Beena?
Yes.
You heard this, right?
Yes.
All right. The point is that I want to make is that when it comes to not celebrity necessarily, but people who are in some way non-ordinary. Yes, and I'm using my word very specifically here: non-ordinary, not extraordinary, but non-ordinary. In other words, different, that have something to share, something to contribute, whatever. Right? Whatever their thing is, they not necessarily, and I don't mean when it comes to like physical things, like if a really good athlete or whatever. I mean, when it comes to sharing of a moreness of some kind, you're not always recognized by your friends who know you because, well, we don't ever think that somebody who is a celebrity is the guy next door. You've known him for a long time, you see him every day on Facebook or whatever. Well, it's just a regular person. All celebrities are regular, right? So this is why this is a big deal. Oh, thank you, Beena. Thank you. Yes, yes. It is a big deal, Star. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Beena's support and she's a part of this. It's not me. Beena's a massive part of this, right? So this is both of us in a sense, because we are on Zoom every day and we're sharing, Way of Impeccability, Moreness Project, Nobelia-Living. We are engaged in Nobelia-Living, Beena and I, every day. So I'm just a focus point of it. Yes, okay, I've got the history with it, and the mind map. All doesn't matter. It's us, right? So for me, this is both of us. Anyway, and anybody else who wants to join into this, it's not exclusive to Beena. We were just talking about this earlier, right, Beena? If anybody else has this deep passion for what we do, we would love to have them be a part of this. This is what Nobelia-Living is all about, and it's going to come. It's going to come. It's not everybody's predilection to be so absolutely immersed in moreness and learning and growing and applying and doing it, and because it's the applying part that makes the difference. You got to live it. You got to do it. It's not just like you're accumulating data. No, that's useless. It's totally pointless. That's just academic. It doesn't mean much. Right? Now, the point I want to make is that the value of going big time like this, right? Being on a show like Charles Smith, and I'm assuming from there it will lead to other shows, because that's typically how it is. Once you're on one, you get invites from the other because everybody wants a piece of this, because it's a big deal and it's happening. So now, when you are recognized from this type of an angle, right? Recognized from the industry, as it were. And PBN network, by the way, they specialize in life coaches and therapists and people producing stuff that is connected to enhancing living and enhancing being, right? And they also do things like interior decorators, which they enhance your life. And if they really are good at what they're doing, they're going to help you to be more as a person, right? So anyway, so it's not like they are just. I know they say it's Professional Business News Network, which is a rather odd name, but maybe that's how they started. They were focused on business, but they are focused particularly on the business of moreness. They don't use the word moreness, but on life coaching, therapists, counselors, artists, and stuff like that. Right? So not that much artists, but people who are related to the industry of life enhancement directly, personally. So it's not like what I'm sharing is out of a category. No, it's in the category that they recognize. I'm still getting to my big point. The big point about recognition from an official source, as it were, like like the Charles Smith or PBN making me Professional of the Year, is that it changes the credibility and the perception of how what I share is perceived. When we have no context whatsoever, right? We have no framework for perception, framework of perception, right? And I talk about this very often, to have an appropriate framework for perception. When we don't know something, we don't know how to evaluate it. We have no idea, because us on our own, I'm talking about as an average person, when you don't know about something, I could say if somebody comes and talks about um, I don't know, some new thing in, let's say, chemistry, right? Or biology. I don't know too much about it. I know a little bit here and there. But when they share and they say, oh, I've got a world breaking new thing that can change the world, I've got a friend, Michaela, who comes on, writing the book there. She's a biologist. She teaches biology. She could have some, all right, her book's not about biology, uh, but she could share something that's like a new biological system or something, and I'll have no idea of knowing whether or this is something truly world changing, or just she thinks it is and it's a big deal to her. I have no framework for appreciating it. However, if she tells me, I'm in Scientific American and Biology Today and whatever, and they publish my articles on this, and so okay, now wow, cool, and it's a big deal. See, I am able to appreciate. And now I can listen differently. Now, all right, I'm not all that particularly interested in biology, but then I will be more interested. But when it comes to personal things, I mean, personal development, self-improvement, awareness, moreness, self-awareness, all the stuff, right? When something is recognized to be something special, something new, something profoundly different, something revolutionary, something exceptional, now I'm really paying attention. The world is saying this is important. And I want to improve. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to change my life. And I want it for my kids, especially. Now I'm listening. See, because now I have this understanding that this stuff is valuable, is important, objectively, not according to my opinion. I don't have the ability to do this. But as a typical viewer, I'm speaking from the position of a typical viewer. So when I am on this recognition as Professional of the Year, going on Charles Smith, and I'm assuming other shows will follow, now what I'm saying is pay attention. It's important. It's important. And it is. I know it is. I know it's life-changing. Beena, from personal, profound experience, knows it so. Not only for herself, but she's been part of the journey. She's here right from the beginning. And since she took my opportunity, I said, hey, you're welcome to come every day. And she jumped on this with both hands and feet and claws and grabbed it totally and did. And ever since,
Oh, yes.
she's been here every day. Right now,
Yes.
being part of this every day, Beena came on Zoom when I had other participants be co-facilitating with me on this, right? And she knows how transformative Way of Impeccability has been, even partially sometimes. Sometimes, people have only they just started. They just did a couple of sessions and their lives are transformed, right? So what I'm sharing is transformative objectively, not just in our opinion. Now we know this from our experience, but when I share with somebody, right, Jill, having done many of these interviews, she's not only interviewing celebrities, which she does as part of a separate part of her job, but as the PBN interviewer, she's interviewing people that are doing similar things to me, and there's no comparison. Yes, I'm not being egotistical. There just isn't. I mean, the mind map behind me is an exemplification of this, right? Mostly when people are like, I watched this couple of her sample interviews before I did this just to get the feel of her. Just when I was still evaluating whether I want to do this or not. And, I saw her interview some people who are life coaches in this. And what we see on Facebook, a very typical life coach, they're not sharing a system, a culture, which is an alternative to our paradigm. Mind just a niche culture, a paradigm shift. There's nothing comparable, nothing even close, right? So what I'm doing and what I'm sharing is coming from an entirely different perspective. It's a paradigm shift. And she's able to recognize this, why she was so excited. She really was genuinely excited. Yes, she has an excitable nature, and she's a professional and she loves what she does. But this touched her personally. That's why I checked, because that was my perception, that this mattered to her personally. And when she brought in her children, I really knew that I had connected with her on a personal level, which I was very, very keen to do. Because for me, when I'm chatting and connecting with somebody, I want it to be personal. Like when Beena and I do our lives, we talk about stuff between the two of us, the same as we talk when we're not on the live. It's personal, it's intimate, right? It's direct connectivity. There's no difference between what we say live or not live. It makes no difference. And I want that same connectivity with Jill. Because when we hear somebody who's personally interested, and now on behalf of her children, yes, now we get to hear ourselves through them because we are interested too, and they ask the questions from a personal interest point of view, not as a general promotion point of view. Yes, it's a very different interview. But to get back to my main key point, why I'm excited is because now those who come to Way of Impeccability and Moreness Project and Nobelia, the whole Nobelia-Living concept, whether you do Way of Impeccability and Moreness Project or not, doesn't matter. Just Nobelia, the concept of Nobelia-Living. They're now really going to be taking this seriously, to pay attention to it, say, what is this about? Not necessarily accepting it or adopting it, but paying attention to knowing what it is about. Yeah? I mean, that grabbed Jill. She really wanted to know. She genuinely wanted to know. This is fantastic. And now, of course, with being Professional of the Year, she's saying that not only does she want to know, but what she's heard, and from the pre-interview, they give you questions and stuff. That this is a very big deal to her. That it's important enough that that it's only 3 months into the year, but already I'm Professional of the Year. She's locking it down right now. It's done deal. There's no other Professional of the Year to follow. A very big deal. In other words, it's very heartening for me that somebody who is in a position to recognize the exceptional moreness of what I'm sharing has done so. Right, Beena?
Yes.
No? Look, when you first came on, our very first phone call,
Yes.
all you had was very little to go by. Yeah.
Yes.
So you had to take some time to find out what I'm about. Yeah.
Yes.
And as you did, you got to see the moreness and the value and the importance, right?
Yes.
Now, and likewise for
Yes.
the other participants, yes, when they came on, yes, they signed on, and some of them, they paid to do the course because, well, I have to make a living too, right? And it's not inexpensive because it's a lot what I do. It's very involved, right? So, but still, they the more they did, the more they realized how much more there was than what they were expecting and what they were paying for. Correct? They all were
Yes.
profoundly not just surprised, but kind of blown away that they had to rearrange their entire worldview, the entire perception of life, the universe, and everything in order to accommodate and arrange this new universe. Correct? And that was quite
Yes.
devastating. It's quite devastating sometimes when you realize your old worldview just is no longer relevant. It implodes, it collapses. So it's quite an issue. However, Beena, I feel that somebody coming in hearing about Way of Impeccability through these interviewers, in other words, they're hearing it via Jill, and with that seal of approval, that seal of importance that gets associated with Jill and Charles and others that are going to come, right? Now, this is a big deal. They don't have to kind of come up to that point of understanding. They're starting there, right? See what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
In other words,
Yes.
the trust involved. You came and you had tremendous trust. What I said really resonated, connected, and you had trust. Same with the other participants, which is why some of them paid, because you have to pay up front, big sum of money, right? But so they had the trust, but then the confirmation was more than what they thought was going to be. But I think people coming into it this way are still going to have that because it's very hard to communicate all of the moreness unless you do it. But they will start with a much higher expectation of moreness. Right? Agree? Make sense?
Yes. Yes.
The main thing is about the perception. When you all right, when you read a book by Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra or whatever, right? Any of those people,
Yes.
what they say you take for granted makes sense and is valuable, correct? Typically. Why? Because, well, they're celebrities, they're famous. Me,
Yes.
I don't want people doing and reading my books to do this. No, figure it out for yourself. Think it through. Disagree if you must disagree. I hope you won't. But, if it doesn't make sense to you, say so, and then we'll figure out why. Maybe I'm wrong. I doubt it, but it's possible. I don't have that arrogance, and I don't think I could be. But the point I'm making is that when somebody who's into self-improvement and personal development opens up a book by Wayne Dyer or whoever, right, all those names, they read and perceive differently because the framework of perception is one where they are already taking for granted and trusting, and not even trusting, but assuming and expecting what they read to be valuable and make sense. Right? Now, sometimes that's not so. Right? A lot of
Yes.
those celebrities kind of talk the talk, but they don't actually produce stuff, and it sounds wonderful. But when you really
Yes.
kind of go in depth,
Yes.
it's a bit lacking. Now, I won't mention names because I don't want to do that. It's not good in the industry. But okay, you'll find out for yourself who they are. However, and that's why that so many of those people have dozens and dozens of books. There's Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness Project, but it's not like, well, here's Way-of-Impeccability and it's part 2. No, it's not that at all. Right? Which is what they are. It's like, you've kind of shared your be all and end all, but like now you're saying it again, and it's because they don't really have it. Yeah? Anyway, the point I'm making is that perception, I'm coming back to the same point, perception and perspective massively, massively, massively influences how your brain interprets, analyzes, evaluates, takes on, and brings into you. Yes? If you are a bit dubious about the value, you don't get the full value out of it. Who knows this better than anybody? Beena. Sophie Beena. I call Beena Sophie Beena sometimes. Why? Because of the story of Sophie the Sophisticated. And that story is about receptivity. Capital R, receptivity. Sophie said, I will not be influenced by the philosophy.
Yes.
However, I'm going to take what they say and apply all of it.
Yes.
But I won't be influenced.
Yes. And it is possible. It is possible.
Oh, yeah. You do it every day. Fantastic.
Yes.
That perception of that earnest intent to not be influenced is not the same as the intent to change. Your intent to change, to learn and grow is stronger than the intent to not be influenced.
Yes.
But you also realize that if you are influenced to be changed, it's never going to be yours.
Yes.
Right? That
Yes.
sophisticated distinction makes all the difference. Now, me being recognized like this, the big deal of it is that what I say is going to be influential. Not that I want it to be, but it's the start, right? So now somebody who opens up a book and reads Ask Biella, they are coming from a perspective already of that this stuff is a big deal. This is a moreness. So they're going to see the moreness that is there. As we discover every time we do a reading, right? Beena's like,
Yes.
and me too. I get like yesterday. I'd forgotten about something in the Biella point that we mentioned, right? About practicing intentions.
Yes.
Intentions being like feasibility studies. I'd forgotten about that, right? But that was the point that Biella was making there. Fantastic, fantastic point. Moreness, completely an extra layer, an extra dimension of understanding and awareness and moreness and extraness that comes, answering the question of, what's the difference between intent and intention, right? This is what we do. Now, the point I want to make is that subheading, that paragraph, that section of that article, if you are reading and it's just another book and it's just by Joe Smo and nobody, if you're reading it from that perspective, you might miss that chapter because we don't expect that degree of moreness, profoundness, life-changingness. Just that one little concept. It's like Beena, it really changed us, right? And not just you, but it
Yes.
changed our everything. It's like, holy moly, this
Yes.
is like really
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes. Absolutely.
Now, you are already in a space where you know this is what I'm sharing, what the books are about, what Biella shares, what Nobelia-Living is about. You already know this, so you are ready for it. It doesn't and being ready for it, you are able to appreciate it for what it is. If you are not ready for it, if you're in the mode, your brain is, well, this is just ordinary self-help and life advice, typical usual stuff. There's thousands of such books out there. You're only going to get that out of it. It's just the way the brain works, right? You're not
Yes.
necessarily, you might say, whoa, and you might recognize it and tell a friend, say, you know what, this is a lot more than I thought it was. Yes, that's going to happen, but typically people see what they expect to see. And me being recognized in this way is going to change that expectation. They are going to expect to see more, and they will find it. And when they do, and they get blown away, like Beena was, just by the, I mean, we get blown away every day by this stuff, right, Beena? It's not just,
Yes. Oh,
but
yes.
but now the excitement to recognize, and when you expect moreness, right? We do this so often. We open up books of those people I mentioned earlier, and well, we get a bit disappointed. Yes, and then we go and buy the next one and the next one, right? But when you really get excited, say, "Oh my God, this is what I've been looking for all my life," you stop. You don't go looking for more. Stop. Get focused. And that only can happen if you have the appropriate frame of perception, and those expectations need to be appropriately set, right? And this is why this recognition, and to some extent celebrity, is necessary in my case. It's not something that I want to do. Ever since I was very little, I had this saying: true power lies in anonymity. Always puzzled me where I got that from. I had no idea where I got it from. I used to say it, but I didn't really. Later, I understood more or less what I mean. But the more I said that over the years, it got to mean more and more and more. So I really understood that, true, anonymity has a lot of power to it. So celebrity, not something I'm seeking and looking for, but it has its value for placing the uh, general general public perception of what I do into a particular category, where it's now evaluated as being more than I'm likely to understand. That's good. That's good. That's appropriate, correct? Because in
Yes.
order to really understand what I'm talking about, you have to do Way-of-Impeccability. You have to do it, not read it, do it. That's a very big difference. Huh? So you have to
Big, big, big,
change.
huge difference.
Huge difference, right? You have to change how your brain works, how you think, your habits, your perceptions, everything, right? So, but this point that somebody coming and reading the books to say, I'm likely not going to understand all of it, fantastic. Good starting point. Good starting point. Right? That appropriate humility, but that can only come from what I'm doing being recognized as the moreness that it is. World changing, life changing moreness, correct?
Yes.
A different paradigm.
It's a different paradigm. Exactly.
A different paradigm.
Exactly.
And the paradigm change is not something that happens very often. You know? Hmm. And
And
paradigm shifts
once
are a huge, huge, huge deal.
it's a it's a refinement. Once our taste buds get refined and get exposed to or get a chance to taste a refined cuisine or any meal or anything, this it changes the parameters in our mind, and then we start comparing with that every other thing as compared to that, if we really like that. So this is what happens when you get refinement in your understanding and awareness also. Once you get that refinedness, then you start comparing it. Okay, is it valuable or not? It's not like, okay, I'm not, you get biased towards. No, it just sets a different parameters in your mind. And then you start comparing this thing. You get something as a replacement also available. That, okay, oh, now I have something to compare it with. Now I have tools to actually gauge the value and see the value and extract the value. So this is what life transformation truly means. Yes, it is also life transformation when once you start, okay, becoming aware of that. Okay, oh, now I just need to be more thorough about my health issues and my sleeping pattern and other things and relationships also. These are also, of course, these are transformation. But all these need little transformation, in my words, in my vocabulary. Uh, will not be needed if you really truly transform yourself, your awareness. Then everything will be innate. You don't need to make decisions based on like, okay, now I'm going to transform my health routine and now I'm going to transform my relationship and my life and all these things. No, everything will get in place. This
Yeah.
is what I see. And we try to fix the short-term things like, okay, I'm going to, okay, I try to fix my relationship, so I'm going to just go to some therapy or go to some counseling and then try to fix that. It will not fix till we will become more aware. We need to increase our awareness, expand and
Uh,
explore our awareness.
that's what it's all about. That's the key.
Yes, exactly. But we assume
Lots of
that
the
we,
way.
we try to do things in a roundabout way.
This is just so exciting, you know. Just this the moreness of it, you know. And what I really like is it's the appropriateness of it, of course, but also attunement. I live in attunement. I have since I was a young man, since the gift of intent. Right? That a very specific incident where I thought things through to the end. And what I had been doing up until that time, I said, you know, the the goal of self wisdom is flawed. That's how I thought of it. That was my thinking at the time, right? This and I pursued self wisdom assiduously. Assiduously, go look it up if you don't know what it means. Very cool word, assiduously. I think the etymology is quite interesting too, if I remember correctly. I'm not a great one on etymology. I know a little bit here and there, but I think assiduously has an interesting history. But anyway, assiduously, like earnestly, really thoroughly, right? And it's more than even thorough, assiduously, with great earnest intent and complete immersion, right? And with great vigor and energy, I pursued this goal of self wisdom, right? Or self improvement, really. Okay, not necessarily to be
Yes.
wise, but because wise is like for the benefit of others, not necessarily for me. I wanted stuff that benefits me. I wanted to be and to be able to have my moreness be of value to me. That was it. It's practical. Oh, very practical. Now, so when I realized that pursuing this on my own, of my own self, just for my own efforts, it wasn't happening. It's a flawed idea. Yes. So we have to get more from outside because at some point you become aware that no matter how much you know, your decisions are still potentially risky and problematic and can be wrong. Right? But when you live in attunement, that goes out the window. Right? Now it's a whole different way of living. Now, to live in attunement, not the simplest thing, of course, right? Because it's so completely opposite to our typical way of living. You know, Beena, I don't think attunement is in 50 ways.
Oh wow.
It is now.
Now it is 51 ways.
46. I'm at 46 now.
I'm just,
But
I
yeah,
was just
it's
thinking.
51 ways. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. So anyway, to live in attunement, not simple because it's so opposite to what we're doing. But from attunement, all of this has come from attunement. And here's the thing that I was about to say, what that started my train of thought, is that the first writing that I started on as serious writing, I wrote stuff when I was a young man, poetry for the most part. And I really, I like the idea of being a writer, but I gave up on it because it was just, it was like I never took the joy in the physical writing part. I like making up the stories and creativity, but actually writing it out, uh, that just didn't appeal to me, right? And so I sort of abandoned that idea, right? Because I didn't enjoy the writing process. Anyway, attunement pushed me back into writing, and the first serious writing that I did for how long would that be? Like 30 years, more or less, right? I mean,
Wow.
only other time, yeah. I mean, only other time I'd written stuff was like, at school where you have to write essays and stuff like that, right? That was the last time I'd done kind of serious focused writing. And those are very short. I mean, when you're writing, and this is sad. This is sad. Those exercises, or you got it as homework, write an essay about this, and some of them were like story essays. I remember writing this one story. I'll talk about it in a minute. and but that was almost seen as punishment. Like, oh, can't want to do the essay, and you put it off. And I'd often write my essays in the morning before going to school, just like as quick as possible. Okay, just so that you can get it done and hand it in and not get into trouble. Terrible, terrible. It was seen as a negative because of the whole culture. School itself, learning was all negative. Yeah, because, well, from the teacher's point of view, you have to be forced to learn. And if you don't learn, you get punished. So the implication of that culture is that learning is onerous, learning is stressful, and you just assimilate this, right? Talk about assimilated. We're talking about assimilated ideas and assimilated learning. Well, that's one thing. Through the schooling system, we assimilate the belief that learning is onerous. It's unpleasant. It's not nice. It's a stress. It's a hassle. Oh, what a terrible idea. Anyway, so I had this, and I was completely anti-writing. And even though I liked the idea of being a writer, I really thought I wanted to be a writer. But then the reality of it, well, it takes a long time to write stuff. It's a slow process. And you live by the minute, to take a project that takes, months or even years. That's a hard thing to do. Anyway, so I came, let's see, wow, it's 13 years ago now, 2011, when I started writing, and I wrote the first chapter. Well, I wrote two of them at the same time. I wrote the first two chapters. Well, actually, chapter 1 and 3 now, but at least, right? Because I added a chapter in between. I wrote those, right? And then fairly soon after that, well, relatively, but then I wrote the rest of the book, and I finished that, and that was a big deal to finish that book, to write it as a full book, right? And it's not even a short book; it's like 100,000 words, right? All of Biella series, so it's a big deal. Uh, and I think I finished it like 2 or 3 years later, right? There was a gap where I didn't write for a while, and then I got into it. I didn't have the space and opportunity to do so. So I just wrote the first two chapters, and there was like a break, I think, for a year or two, and then I wrote the rest, right? And then, obviously, I'm writing the book with the intent to publish it, because at the time, I money was an issue. I didn't have much, and yes, I could always make money, but I wanted to get out of that, the grind that it was, and do Moreness things. Whenever I got into making money, I always made money, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So, okay, I could get to where I make money, but I can't stay there because it's not fulfilling, right? So then something else comes along. Anyhow, so then I'm writing this book with the intent of publishing it, and right from the very beginning, it was a series. I saw the bigger scope of it in this conception, right? So this whole Nobelia, the new Nobility, or the entire conception, thinking it was always a series to start with. But now, right? So then I was going to publish it, but then Attunement came along, and Attunement came, and I was a friend, a really dear friend, was involved with the BMN, and they wanted, and the relationship was starting to have problems and troubles, and they wanted to understand about the, well, at that time the word BMN wasn't around yet, right? And so they came to me, and daily they were sharing with me. We were living in the same house, right? The couple and me. I was living in the spare room there. Well, it's like a little semi apartment, like attached apartment. Anyway, um, so they come daily and talk about this, and they would post about it on Facebook. And they got through the whole thing, and they got through the end of the relationship and moving on, the transition and everything. I was there with it, to all of them. And and after this, they said, I I wasn't fully aware of BMNs, but I also have some tools, because I'd known this person for a long time, and before that, and so they used a lot of the tools that I share. But then they said, but I want other well, she said women at the time, are the women who are going through this. I want them to be aware of all of the stuff that I'm now fully aware of. I wasn't fully aware of it before, but at least I had some tools that allowed me to get through it and, allowed me to even come and talk to you about it. So she asked me to write the book about it and then I took her quotes. She would just put it as like 1 or 2 lines posts. And I took those and used them as the starting quote for the chapter and then elaborated and filled in, and, arranged it all and put the different categories and all, right? So then I wrote the book essentially in utilizing her quotes as the starting quotes for the different chapters, where they fit in. I had to rearrange them and put them as appropriate. I had to figure out all the different categories. So that book came along, and as my author friend Rick, who's written, I don't know, a whole bunch of books, got a whole big series going, right? Um, when he wrote his review, he said in the review, it's on Amazon. He said he perceives this book as a massive act of kindness. I think those were his exact words. I'm not sure massive, but I know act of kindness. Yeah. And I was like, wow, what a perception. Because I'm talking about BMNs and narcissists and abusers and manipulators, etc., right? And BSs, that's what BMN stands for. BS, manipulative narcissist, right? And he said, wow, to him, to him, the way he reads it is as a massive act of kindness. It's incredibly perceptive because that's what it was. Anyway, so that book became the big deal, and that became the focus because I put my friend as a co-author on there, some using her quotes, right? Now, co-author doesn't necessarily mean it's 50-50. We tend to assume that, you know, and obviously it's not when you read the book, but it doesn't matter. So I put them on there, right? And now, because at that time, for her also finances became an issue, so the book became a focus to get this published and that. Now, when it comes to books, by the way, if you think your book is going to just be aware, and I kind of was, but you're always hopeful. And books aren't a way to make money unless you get extraordinarily lucky, right? One out of 1,000 books, one out of every 1,000 gets to be where the person actually makes a profit on the book. Yeah, I mean, just where they make more than they spend on the book. 1 in 1,000. Out of that 1,000, only 3%, well, another three, right? So 1 in 1,000, and in other words, then out of that 1 in 1,000, only three. So that is like, I don't know, what is that out of it's like that would become 3 out of 100,000, I think it is, something like that, or 3 out of 10,000. I'm not sure the exact math, but anyway, actually can make a living from writing. It's a ridiculously small percentage, right? So just be aware of this. And I was aware that your odds of actually getting serious financial returns, at least on one book, is very low. Yeah? But the point I'm getting to in a long story here is that via Attunement, that book came along, and that book had to be published and all the stuff. And yes, it did, right? And it led to the second book because I had extra material, extra stuff, and all right, so that came about. But what the consequence of that was that Biella got pushed back. I was all ready to publish Biella, but because of this book coming, Biella got pushed back, and I recognized it for the attunement that it was. So ever since then, I said, Biella will wait. The time when Biella get the whole Biella series to get published, this will come of its own accord. Why? Because Biella has to be published in an environment of where I'm already established as an author. And when Biella gets published, it needs to be, fanfare, introduction, all of this moreness, that it's immediately going to be a big deal book. Yes. And it needs to be, because if it's just a typical another book, it's going to get lost, like I was saying earlier, from frame of perception. The whole book cannot be truly appreciated without that appropriate frame of perception. I know what it is, but as a general reader, you can't take my word for it and the blurb at the back, because they're all biased, right? You need to have general consensus. or at least within the appropriate reader community, whatever, Goodreads or talk shows like I'm going to be doing, interviews. It has to be considered to be a Moreness and a big deal before it gets published, right? So that when it gets published, it has serious readership. And in that serious readership, you get all the feedback and it becomes a big deal. In other words, it needs to go viral for it to truly have its effect. But to go viral, you need to have certain conditions happen. Yes, you can go viral, just any post has the chance to go viral. But them happening just of their own accord, that doesn't happen as often as we'd like to think. It seems like they're all like that, but no, there's a lot of support and background and stuff that goes, connectivity that goes to things going viral. So to get back to Biella, I realized that to publish the Biella series, even though it's written, book 1 is completely done, edited, everything's ready to go. I've got all the material for book 2. Book 3 is like, I probably take me a week to finish writing book 3, 2 weeks maybe. I'll probably have enough material for book 4 even, right? And then all the other series too. But they need to be there when there is a recognition of the Moreness that's to come. So that when Biella series gets released, like this Moreness, this recognition now is only the first step towards the longer term goal of truly being like, the executive vice president. He said, the guy who's in charge of professionals of the year. He said, going on Charles Smith's show, it kind of makes you a bit of a household name, right? Now, he said household name. I'm saying bit of. I don't know if Charles Smith is that huge. Maybe I'm underestimating. But when you go on Oprah, you become a household name, right? Now, not necessarily. Okay, I think it's a bit of a stretch, but still, all right. If you go on all of these shows, you certainly are going to be it, right? But to me, when Biella needs to be, I need to at least be in that category, because it's so world changing. Yes, we're going to start with it with Ask Biella. It's the start of it, but the entire look. I didn't even mention the new nobility. I said nobleness, but I didn't mention like Biella and on Nobelia-Living. I mean, it was a little vague, yeah. But nonetheless, so what I'm saying is the end result of this is all of this is coming by attunement. Yeah, it's not me making it happen. It's not me choosing it to happen. It's coming by attunement. I look like I got a big frown. It's just the way the shadows are, Beena, you see? I'm not frowning. It's just the way my eyebrows are. Are you still there, Beena? Did you drop?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, 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 I'm listening.
Oh, jump in anytime. Jump in anytime.
Yes, 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 yes. It was cool. You were
Yeah,
sharing, and I was
yeah,
listening.
yeah. It's a big deal, in other words. And I'm excited again. I'm a little unexcited at idea of being a celebrity. This does not particularly appeal to me. So I'm a bit of an celebrity in that sense. But I think this is appropriate. I mean, not think, I know it's appropriate. You can't, if you have a desire to be a celebrity, then that's what's going to be important to you. And, it's kind of like Kim Kardashian effect. Now, I'm not negative against Kim Kardashian. A lot of people are. I think what she does is wonderful because it is a connectivity and many people really connect to her, and she provides a lot of value to the people that she connects with. But I mean, she's a celebrity for the sake of being celebrity. That was always the vibe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's okay. But you know, and unfortunately, people mistake celebrity, so they kind of take what she says with having more value than it really has. But that's okay too. It's okay too. The trivial and the mundane is as important as the sublime, and we realize that in life. But what I'm saying is that, if you're pursuing celebrity for the sake of celebrity, it can be a bit hollow. That's all I'm saying. Yes. Now, for me, celebrity is not something I seek, but it's a tool I will use should it come along. It's a valuable tool to be used. Yes? Make sense, Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Just look at things from way of impeccability point in perspective. Yeah? This entire Moreness, to put it into context. We were busy chatting on the phone, and you had Amy and Farouk was there, Mama was there, and then I think you were on a call to Lubna and Dushka. And
Yes.
did they enjoy the interview? not just the fact
Okay.
that I'm being interviewed. See, two different things to
Okay.
enjoy.
Yes. Yes. Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. So the first, of course, the most important thing for us was that you being interviewed. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
doubt about it. That was the
Right,
most
right. So
important
that's
thing.
one excitement which I appreciate. That's support. That's the
Okay.
support
Okay.
excitement.
Yes.
And
And the
I love
second thing,
this.
okay, yes, but the second thing, okay, so I know that okay, you always give value, more value to the content and the substance. But the problem is that we know you at least enough. So we do have that kind of trust that yes, okay, yes, this is what is going to happen. And for us, it's like you are a household name, of course, like part of the family member. That
Correct.
like you are a part of the family. So it is something that we were aware that it is going to be like that. The
I am a
only
household name
yes, you
in
are.
Beena's household.
Yes, perfect.
I love that.
Yes, but
Anyway, so
but
carry on, carry
also
on.
that no, but also that the only concern was that people need, okay, they will get a chance to know you. They were like all, it was like duh, that yes, it is going to be valuable, yes, it is going to be something amazing, but that how people are going to proceed, they get a chance to, because it was a limited time, and then of course everybody was keen that okay, oh, it has to be right, it has to be right. The interviewer needs to be like really supportive in that case, that
Yeah,
yes, okay, so she can ask you and she can give you a time, so you can share what you really want to share, that's it.
exactly,
So for us
exactly.
now from the second and of course onward, everybody is going to of course listen more carefully, that okay, for the first one we were just observing that okay, oh, it has to be
Okay.
just be
Yeah,
right.
and this is what just like
Oh, don't stop, don't stop. I was just, refreshing, and then it brings the volume, and it takes a second.
Okay. So yes, it was on in my family, it was like a typical family that okay, one family member is doing something, so everybody is like, oh, on toes. So we know that it is going to be valuable. Whatever you are sharing is valuable. This is profound. But the concern, the whole emphasis was on that it needs to be just be right. That the maximum value. That's it.
And
Yes.
it was. So
Exactly.
however I think of it, obviously it was good. Why? Because I got 1 second before I say that. I have something
Huh?
important. Hello, hello,
Yes.
Norma. Hello, hello,
Oh,
Norma.
hello, Norma. Hello,
Norma,
Norma.
Norma, Norma she just signed in to catch up. And love you, Norma. Yes,
Okay.
love you very much. So thank you for doing so. Norma, big excitement, big excitement. You'll have to watch the whole show because we've kind of run out of energy to be excited the way we were earlier. The interview,
Yes.
the interview was not just good. It was not just excellent. It was not just fantastic. It was really, really excellent. Why? Because the interviewer in their company, they have, I didn't even know this existed. They have something, the professional of the year, and they nominate or assign somebody or make somebody the professional of the year, gets extra shows. So I'm going to be doing twice the number of shows. And also, when somebody's the professional of the year, which I now am, I'm the professional of the year for PBN Network. I'm the professional of their professional of the year, which means my shows get 10 times, at least 10 times more attention and action and promotion, and all the advertisers, because they're a professional company, they're like a radio station, right? So the advertisers pay extra, they all compete, they basically have like an auction to see who's going to be advertising on the professional of the year shows, right? And also, I've been part of this is I get invited to the show called Charles Smith by invite only, and this is a big deal show. It's like they get hundreds of thousands of people attending these, so it's a very big deal. So everything just is taken off. So the interview was as much as I can imagine success. It was actually more. I never even thought that they would give me an extension, more shows, more billboard exposure, and this now part of it is to be on this really big time show that's in a different. They're on YouTube. Charles Smith's on YouTube, and I'm going to be on cable. On some of the shows, going to be on cable. So anyway, a big deal, a very very big deal. In other words, this is like, big time. When they say you've hit the big time, gotten your big break. Well, Beena knew this was my big break, and I'm getting recognized, and now it is right. So this is now moving into this Moreness. So
Yes,
very exciting,
yes.
Norma. Very, very, very exciting stuff. And you'll listen to the whole show again, because I'm kind of out of steam with all this excitement. So uh, I want to just end soon now and just wrap things up and end. I mean, I was kind of thinking to do the readings, but well, and as appropriate, as appropriate. So we've been talking about lots of stuff. Oh, Norma, I'm very thrilled you. I'm so happy to be here now. Me too, Norma. Me too. Because you're a part of this. You're a part of this, Norma. All the participants, all my friends, you're all a part of this. It's not just me alone. You're all part of this. It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal. Just and like Ramsey, just his support, it's fantastic. Ramsey said, "Wow, perfect interview." You're right, Ramsey. You know, it's for me. Okay, when I read that, I'm very cautious of the word perfect, but you're right. It had the desired result, what it achieved. I mean, I going on the interview. The my intent for doing this series is to share what I have, because I not just feel and believe that what I have is valuable. I know it to be valuable. I mean, truly, truly valuable, like life-changingly valuable. I know this from people who've done, the participants who've done Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness Project. Their lives are transformed, changed lives, right? So I know it can make a massive difference. And from a point of view of sharing this as a paradigm, as for a world-changing paradigm, I know this is going to be totally transformative. However, it needs the appropriate environment for this to happen. By the way, just now that I think of it, yes, uh, for some of the participants, the effect internally is life-changing and very profoundly different, right? However, their external lives may not change that much. Why? Because if you're in an environment where you sharing your moreness is going to cause other people to feel less than, you're going to be reluctant and cautious about sharing your moreness, because it can really cause you trouble. I've had this many times in my life, right? This is why, Beena, the paradigm needs to shift, even if it's not the entire world, but at least in significant subcultures, right? So where you go to, a country, a town, a city, a province, a um, county, doesn't matter, right? It can just be no matter what size it is, but at least an environment, maybe just schools, different types of schools, different types of universities, whatever, right? Uh, just places where you hang out, like a resort that's a Nobelia style resort, where the paradigm is different. My point is, if you're working in a company, let's just take a company that adopts Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness Project, that has Nobelia logic, as I recommend in that one Ask Biella article about ethics, yes. Now you get to be able to share your moreness without fear of negative consequence. It seems completely counterintuitive, and it's an opposite.
Hmm.
Quick pause to add this to the opposite. Sharing moreness. We take for granted that sharing moreness, well, duh. No, it's not the door. If you have actual real moreness, it can be very dangerous to share. It can really get yourself into serious trouble in terms of negativity coming your way, because you sharing your moreness can make other people feel less by comparison. And they do this, they have that comparison mindset. So this is a very, very big deal. But what I'm trying to say is, if you ask some of the participants how their external lives have said changed, maybe tell you not that much. They still have their struggles and they got to deal with BMNs and all this. They cannot be their mourners. But if they were in an environment where everybody is sharing the same paradigm, now you can be yourself unreservedly. And this, to me, is what we so need. If we have communities, societies, groups, doesn't matter whether it's like our group, our group is just you and me, right? On when we're sharing together. And I don't mean on the lives. I mean just in terms of like what we do when we are talking and sharing about Moreness things in that level, right? And sometimes just the two of us, yeah? Well, mostly it's just the two of us. But just that from a collaborative point of view, creativity, like, when we're doing writing and we're doing whatever we're doing, right? And new concepts, new ideas, and new ways of living. Like when we're doing Way-of-Impeccability stuff, just even two is enough, right? And look, when we did it with the participants, and there were three of us, right? That collaborative effort is incredible. Now think of it, Beena. If we were in a situation where we're doing something from a creativity point of view. Yeah, not necessarily can be commercial or not, it doesn't matter. But if we were in a group where we had a team of like 10 people, all collaborating from a Moreness perspective, yes, and sharing and Moreness and taking things to the end and not worried about time and not worried about looking foolish, not worried about looking bad, not competing, not comparing, none of that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what's going to come of that? Yeah. Huge differences, right? World-changing stuff, all the problems we have, all of this stuff. The reason why our problems don't get sorted is because those that can make a difference don't have the incentive to do so. Superiority paradigm doesn't want this to happen, doesn't benefit superiority paradigm. If everybody was more, who am I going to be superior to? See? Yes, it's preposterous, but this is superiority paradigm. It's preposterous. People want people down at the bottom so that they can feel superior to them. And when you go and look at the people down at the bottom, they always superior to somebody. Don Juan had a good quote about bowing your head. He said a warrior doesn't bow his head to anybody. Yeah. And then he was explaining to Carlos about this. And Carlos didn't quite understand it. He says, well, take your typical beggar. They bow their head to everybody. Yet the first opportunity they get where somebody bows their head to them, they pounce on this and essentially force whoever they can to bow their heads to them. Yes. Even though they don't like it, they force it onto others when they get the opportunity. That's superiority paradigm logic. See? When you go around bowing your head, you also want others to bow your head to you. Superiority paradigm. It's nonsense. Yeah. This never appealed to me. It's actually horrible. I've had it, but I don't like it at all. Very horrible. Very horrible. Anyway, so sharing Moreness added as chapter 47. You would think sharing Moreness is like a duh, but it's not. We definitely ought to ban this word superior. Yes, exactly. And superiority and all this stuff. It's coming. We don't need to ban it because, of course, we want to use as appropriate. This is the point of appropriateness. That sometimes it's appropriate to use it. And we want to know and understand those exceptions. But yes, in the language of like Biella, she'll talk about the superiority paradigm, but she will never use this as part. It's like should. It doesn't use should as a part of her language either, and so it just automatically changes. Paradigm. Let's see. It's spelled differently, Norma. I mean, yes, you spelled it phonetically, but it's Digm. Yeah, paradigm. That old kind of spelling of it. Why does that now not look right? Yeah. All right, yeah. So a paradigm is that which affects everything, right? Okay, so for instance, me compared to an octopus or a swordfish or a dolphin or whatever, right? We exist in different paradigms. We exist in an air breathing, oxygen dependent, right? I mean, they also need oxygen, but we get ours via air and they get theirs via the water, right? So we're in an air environment and they're in an aquatic environment, two different paradigms. That's what paradigm means, something that is so pervasive, it affects every single thing that's related to it. Yeah, paradigm, that way. Yes, paradigm. There you go, Norma. Right? So, again, when superiority is the paradigm, everything that happens is in some way related to superiority. The pecking order, the hierarchy, dominance, subjugation, all of this stuff, right? And again, like that beggar bows his head to everybody, but it's still part of the superiority paradigm because he, he wants whoever he can, some other beggar who's worse off than him, to bow their head to them, even if it's temporary, right? So this is paradigm is all pervasive influence and effect, and also in such a way that you don't even realize it. Yes, I mean we don't think about living in an air breathing environment. Yeah, all right, when we get pollution, we do, but we don't necessarily think of all the consequences. We don't, like for instance when we compare it to fish. Now we may do because we're aware of the fish, but the fish isn't aware of us. So to them, they only exist and water's the only option they have. They don't realize there is another option. But this is the same thing with superiority. We don't even question it as what we should do. We should seek superiority. We should seek fame. We should seek attention. We should seek celebrity, right? We should seek being dominant. We should seek being the king of the world, the queen of the world, the emperor, whatever, right? Conquer. See, conquer. We just listen. Start listening, really listening to language. And when you notice that word conquer, really pay attention, right? You're going to see how often it comes up. It's such a common word, right? And I don't mean to conquer your fears, right? It comes in that sense, right? But where people are talking about a conqueror and this, and it's always in these glorious, wonderful terms, right? It's of course historical, yeah, like Alexander the Great and Napoleon and all this. But what's the difference between Putin and Napoleon? Okay, Putin's only doing it with one country now, right? But he'd like to do it a whole lot more. Yeah. All right. Well, Stalin, Stalin or Hitler tried to conquer all these things. Yeah. It wasn't glorious when Hitler did it, but it was glorious when Napoleon did it or Alexander did it. See, it's fascinating. Yeah. When Hitler invaded, he didn't conquer. Okay? It's language. So my point is superiority paradigm glorifies this word conquer. Now, of course, in reality, it's really nasty and ugly. That's why when it's recent, it's ugly, but when it's historical, it's glorious. It's the same reality. The people that are being subjugated and, rape and pillage and all of this stuff going on, and properties being destroyed, etc. They don't think it's glorious, and you have no legal justification for it whatsoever. Same as Putin, we can clearly see no legal justification, complete fabricated nonsense. Yeah. However, when we look at this as Alexander or Napoleon, somehow it's glorious and he was so wonderful. He conquered the whole world in this young age and all this nonsense. Where is this coming from? Superiority paradigm. We don't even question it. We just take it for granted, right? And we watch movies, and I watched Aquaman like 2 days ago, and the first one. When you watch it and you're aware of the superiority paradigm, it changes the whole logic, right? So it's very fascinating to watch this. Yeah. So paradigms are a big deal, Norma. They are a massive deal. Now, of course, the paradigm, like paradigms that affect everything, like our physical paradigm, which is air and physical food, eating, right? Um, I guess biology paradigm, and we have that paradigm, but also from a cultural point of view, psychological point of view, we have the superiority paradigm, which affects how we think, how we act, how we interact, how we are as a species, as a community, and what we do on a day to day. Right now, if you're in a survival paradigm where we all started, that's all you focused on, just surviving, right? But then as it gets a little bit more, how do you survive, right? So this now gets influenced by the paradigm, right? Like I keep talking about the lions, right? Yeah. You know, they have a superiority paradigm culture, and as a result, they're not cooperative, they're not collaborative to a certain extent yet, but there's lots of all infighting, and that's the problem, and that's why, you know, dictatorships and things almost always implode because of the infighting. They can't get rid of the superiority paradigm. Yeah, I mean, there are ways around it with severe brainwashing, like you have in North Korea, but even there, it's difficult. It's very difficult. So anyway, it's a fascinating point. And what I'm sharing, you know, the Moreness paradigm, it's so opposite to the superiority paradigm, and we don't even realize how much we do take things for granted, right? From superiority paradigm. When somebody is sharing, like me, when I do the lives, most people just assume I'm doing it because, well, duh, is doing it to get likes. It's not even a conscious thought, you know. I mean, if somebody came and asked them and said, like, let's say some reporter, interviewer, or a psychology student says, well, I'm doing research on lives, and okay, let's take Syl's life as an example here. Why do you think he does it? You know, like it's a research question. All right, you know, you might think, oh, kind of duh. Well, duh, he does it to get likes. What else would he be doing it for? That's the paradigm. What else would he be doing it for? The superiority paradigm cannot imagine that we would do anything other than personal status, glorification, advancement, making ourselves look important, getting likes, getting followers. Look at the whole thing of getting likes. Yeah, not getting feedback. It's whether you liked or not liked. Not, you know, yes, what you say has some value, but you know, you could make it shorter. No, the button isn't a feedback button. It's like or not like. The focus is not on feedback. And also, at least, you know, in the Moreness culture, in like a Nobelia culture, that wouldn't just be feedback, but it would be sharing, right? Share your takeaway, buttons. Repeat back, takeaway, right? Feedback if you want, and feedback would say, all right, you know, this is my takeaway. It was very valuable what you said to me. It changed my life. But from a feedback point of view, you know, you were kind of quick on it. I would have liked more detail, etc. See, those would be the buttons on. Let's see, what would it be called on Nobelia? Beena, what would Facebook be called on Nobelia? Their equivalent of it. It'd be called Sharebook.
Oh yes, oh yes, yes, yes. Uh,
Yeah. So just the
Chronicles,
buttons. I just like this.
chron
I just thought of it now, right? What would the
Chronicles of
the Chronicles of Countenance?
yes.
Yeah, but well, yeah, but you know, that's still sort of, well, all right, I guess, you know, that does actually bring a Moreness into it, because, you know, yes, your countenance is face, but it's getting closer to the figurative sense of face. And when you are chronicling your countenance, your presentation, who you are, you're chronicling it, you're going into detail. It's not just the image, the appearance of it, right? Which is, you know, like when you get headshots, right? That's just your image. And that's what Facebook kind of implies. You put your profile picture up there, which many people actually literally get the professional headshot for their social media profile pictures. It's very common. Like if you're a blogger or whatever, go and get professional headshots like a movie star for their portfolio, right? That's where the term comes.
Uh-huh.
But when you chronicling your countenance, your image profile picture is totally irrelevant. It's what you say, and depth. Chronicles implies depth. So yeah, they may be called the Chronicles of Countenance, COC. That doesn't abbreviate very well, so maybe not. Right? I think it would be
Yes.
called Sharebook. Called Sharebook. If it was a platform, it would be called Sharebook, because that's what you do. You're gonna go there and share. The intent is to share. Facebook, the intent by implication is to self-promote. Yes, there is a shareness, but because of the superiority paradigm, you know, inevitably people promote themselves. And
So why not soul book? Instead of sharing your face, it's just share your soul
soul
and
book.
heart or mind.
Yeah. Soul book would be good too. Share book, soul book. I like that. Yeah. That's very cool, Bean. Wow, that's Moreness soul book. Or more book could be called too. But soul book, I
Oh
like it.
yes.
Soul book is grabbing. It's share book, more book, soul book. Cool. I like that a lot. So that's it. So it's called soul book. Soul book. See, I knew I had to ask you. I really felt very strongly to ask you. I wasn't just being polite. I really thought that you had an answer for it. What I was thinking I knew wasn't enough. So I really thought that you would have something. There you go. Good for me to trust my feelings and intuition and focus and moreness. So good for me. Very exciting, Norma. Anyway, so the whole interview, Norma, to wrap all this up, because I do want to go and to wrap all this up, the interview went spectacularly. I have been invited, well, not invited, I've been named. Sorry, I keep saying invited, but it's not an invitation. I've been named their professional of the year, which is a very big deal. I get double the amount of shows. So I'm not only going to be doing 10, I'm likely going to be doing 20. And I get the invitation is to the Charles Smith show because his show is called By Invite Only, and it's a big show. It's a very big deal. So I'm going to be on that. It's all really big deal, and of course more will come from more. Just the way these things happen. So I've now basically stepped into the big time. Yeah, and that's something. And that's something. Attunement, attunement. All via attunement, right? Just the moreness of it. So many things. All right. I want to chat to Beena before we go. Some
Yes.
practical details. So I'll see you in a second. Anything to add to round up to finish?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Okay. So today, we're supposed to do the capital R reading of
Yeah,
Biella responses, but
two.
the
Yeah.
excitement is appropriate. I was, and I still I am, too excited to go into details and depth and all these things. So that's why I just choose to celebrate. That this is the day for me. Of course, I know that okay, for Syl it's a different deed, but for me today is the day to celebrate not only moreness but also the appropriateness of the universe,
Yes.
because it is coming, the things are coming on the appropriate time, of course. And having the trust, this is not just because that okay something big happened and okay, yes, in a general common way and sense, it's a big deal, yes, and we shared many times, oh, it's a huge deal, it's a big deal, but it's also a proof of the result of way of impeccability and moreness practice and application. This is the proof where, like, okay, if Syl would not be as thorough as he is, he would be just writing books and not doing things. That would be really a big, huge, chaotic happening in his life right now. He needs to prepare. I need to think about it. Oh, she could ask me this, and I need to recall and prepare myself and all that. It was nothing. The all the changes, new thing, newness, everything was just as natural as it can be, and that is a real magic.
Now before we go, Janet came on and said so happy to hear us. Thank you, Janet.
Oh, thank you, Janet. Oh, missing you, Janet. Sorry, I know
Uh,
that okay, still don't like to say that, but I'm missing you.
well, I
Not
do.
feeling ashamed of that.
I do too. So,
Yes,
uh,
missing our time, Janet, missing our time. But anyway, so thank you so much, Janet, to come and then just share that, because yes, celebration day for Beena, big time. Yes, for Syl also, his celebration, his way of celebration is different. He see the
the
beauty of
recognition is important. Yes, I mean,
exactly acknowledgement
like
and
Norma
the
and Janet and you recognize the mourners, but to have it recognized kind of out there, it's not for the attention and the approval. No, it's because of the opportunity to be able to share now to a greater audience and an audience that's going to be more receptive to what I have to share. That's a big deal. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. I was saying earlier, yes, we are all in this together. All of us who come here on live, right?
Yes.
Who come as regulars. We're all in this together. Not me, or just me and Beena. No. Norma, Janet, Ramsey, everybody who comes, sure,
Yes.
everybody, all the participants, all in it together, even if they don't come very often, doesn't matter. They're all part of this. They're all a part of this. They're all a part of this. They're all family to me. That's how I think of family. Family is chosen. Very big deal. So you're part of my family. Whether you know it or not, whether you want to be or not, doesn't matter. It's a one-way deal. But yeah, thank you, Janet. Thank you, Norma. So pleased that you came, Janet, that I can say thank you to you. You can hear me say thank you. And I'm pleased that you made it back in time to perceive some of this, Norma. And of course, the live will be there. I'm trying to change the name of the live. See where. It said edit, but it doesn't give me a. I want to. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I can change it. I can change it. Ah, can change it. All right. So what are we gonna call this, Beena? This today's live. What are we gonna call it?
Ah, this is interesting.
Ah,
Okay, I don't know. Okay, for me, it's a celebration.
yes. I'm typing celebration, but I started to celebrate and type that, and I don't know where it went to. Am I
Oh,
typing? It something happened, and the title was there, but now I can't see it. Oh yeah, here I am. Oh, edit post details. All right. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, okay. Title. So, okay, okay. So I said, Bina, the title
yes,
for this live, right? I changed the name
yes,
now. Is Celebration of Syl being named Professional of the Year by
yes,
PBN Network,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Because this is not just an accolade. It's not just like, oh, wonderful. No, it actually matters. I mean, as a consequence of this, I was going to be doing 10. We were slated for to do 10 episodes of interviews with Jill. Now it's going to be essentially double that. And he said like definitely 7 more, but he said likely it's going to be 9 or 10 more, right? So they leave it open. Just depends on how it goes down, how much you have to say. I mean, they have to because, well, you may run out of stuff to say. They don't really know yet that me running out of stuff to say. Nope, nope, sorry. That's not going to happen, right? You're safe there. You're safe there, Mr. Senior Vice President. So in PBN Network, by the way, right after the show, I mean, it must have been like 7 or 8 minutes afterwards, yeah. Um, I got a call from the Senior Vice President, and his job is to look after the Professional of the Year. That's it. And his entire job is to make sure I'm happy now for the rest of this year. Right. So what happened is that the interviewers, they get to name a Professional of the Year. Right. And so immediately after the show, Jill got on and connected with Mr. Stevens is his name, and she said, "Hey, Professional of the Year," right? Because the show, she goes by the feedback, call-ins, comments, right? They have all that. We didn't make it live in this one, but she sees it going up there on her control board and everything, right? So the show was off the charts in terms of connectivity and people responding and wanting to hear more, and we connected too, and that's important. The interviewers won't name somebody as a Professional of the Year if they don't really feel the connecting. So of course he looks at it and he agrees, and then he called me and said, "Okay, you're Professional of the Year." And this is a very big deal. And I also, part of this, not only do I get extra shows and more billboards and, the show gets more promoted because the advertisers all compete to advertise on this. So that's much more attention. So in other words, the listenership of, because I get now, next week, Jill is going to introduce me as their professional of the year, right? Which means the show gets more viewers, more listeners. So very big deal. But also, a part of this is I get to go on the Charles Smith show called By Invite Only. And this is a big deal show. And they have, he says, like a minimum of 100,000 hits, but usually it's like 250. In other words, they got huge viewership. It's like, he said, oh, you're going to be a household name now. Okay,
Yes.
maybe not right away from that one show in what I regard as a household name, but he's making the point that you're now getting into a whole different sphere. You're not just talking, and it's a few thousand or a few hundred people may be listening, which doesn't really matter. But when you got hundreds of thousands of people, that's a huge, and they really love
Yes.
what I'm
Yes.
doing. I mean, this is massive. This is really, really a big deal. I didn't copy that title. Copy it in a minute so that I can edit the other things as well. So brilliant, so brilliant. All right, I just wanted to share that, just to do this fulfillment. Yes, day of fulfillment day. Yes, that's interesting, Norman. You make me think of something. Let me see what today is. Just in my little fun thing of rules of sentience, where I have the rules of sentience associated with somebody who made a day of thing. And what's the date today? Is the 3rd of April. Let's see. April 3 is day of, wait. April 3. Ha, 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 ha. April 3, day of the fulcrum. How cool is that? Are you still there, Beena?
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
I'm going to share. I'm going to share in a moment here. Hold on. Very cool. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. Make this bigger so you can read. There we go. See, April 3, day of the fulcrum.
Oh. Wow.
And look at the rule of sentience for this day. Now, these days are of not my thing. This comes from something else. And I simply used it as a mechanism for sorting and arranging the rules so that they have this won't be when I put out publish rules of sentience. This won't be included because something else entirely. It has nothing to do with this. It was purely just an internal mechanism for me to rearrange the things because I needed something to make an order for them instead of just randomly assigning them to a day. I wanted to have some connectivity and meaning, right? So these rules came first and this came second, not the other way around, right? So I had a rule which says perspective is a truly magical lever. Now, these aren't really rules. They more understandings. They're self-evident sensibilities, really, right? Perspective is a truly magical lever. Now, that's a fulcrum point. And you know what a fulcrum is with a lever, right? It's the point that it moves on, which without the
Yes.
fulcrum point, your lever is just a piece of something, right? It does just a piece of iron, a piece of wood,
Yes.
whatever. It's just a bar, right? So the fulcrum is the key thing. And today is a fulcrum point for leveraging my perspective. The perspective of the Nobelia perspective, the Moreness-Living perspective, Way-of-Impeccability perspective, all of this, right? It's today is the fulcrum.
Yes.
So most appropriate, right? Yeah. And yeah, the additional ones, yeah. And look, reminder of how awesome simply shifting perspective can be. How does this rule of sentience make a difference? That's what this column is for. Key concept, perspective, leverage. Yes. And alternatives, perspective can not only be shifted, but can be used as a lever. It's just another way of saying this one, right? Give you alternative looks at it. And these are alternative perspectives on the rule of sentience about perspective being a magical lever. Using perspective only, we can get an entirely new view of the world. With perspective, we can create new attitudes, new moods, new views, new mindsets, new worlds. How awesome is that? Simply shifting perspective can pry open the most stubborn problem sometimes. Oh, it's the Moreness. I want to see them more. Oh, that's it. That's as far as I got. Okay. So very cool. Very, very appropriate day, right, Beena?
Yes, yes.
Very appropriate. There's just a magic to it sometimes. Not always, of course, but sometimes there is. And it's just a little extra moreness. But certainly, if I looked up April 3 without Day of the Fulcrum, just perspective can be a magic lever sometimes. It's said in a very particular way. It's kind of always a magical lever. That's a very big deal. So thank you, Norma, for your day of fulfillment. Yes, it is. It is a fulfillment. Yes, it's a fulfillment of that mourns. So very, very big deal. Very, very big deal. So wonderful. So absolutely wonderful. All right. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Ramsey. I'm sad Ramsey couldn't be here in the live, but he did watch the interview, which I'm very appreciative of. And Ramsey said, perfect interview, Norma, by the way. As soon as I can, I haven't received from them yet where to download it. But as soon as I can, I will download the interview and share it and make a post out of it, and then we can watch it. At least my interview, not the live, not today's open enough. Right? But the interview with PBN. I don't know how they have it as repeat there. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll find out all those details. It's all still new, so I'll keep you apprised. Let me put it that. I'll keep you apprised. Yes. Brilliant. All right. Fantastic. Beena, anything to conclude?
Yes. No, no, it's all good now. Okay, and we have our part of sharing also, even though it was about celebration, but it has so much more involved into that, as usual, like always, because what we are celebrating is so important, like really to pay attention to. Yes, celebration itself is a good thing, but what we are actually celebrating, what are the implications and what are the consequences of that, to never lose a bigger picture also, and also pay attention to the nuance, because every single detail has a huge implications involved, and this is what deliberate living is all about, to pay attention to, never lose the connectivity to the bigger picture, even when we are so excited.
You said deliberate living. In
Yes.
my they have, when you do professional interviews, like when you see somebody go on the late night shows or on Oprah or whatever, we just, okay, they get invited,
Yes.
you think you show up and you go and talk. No, there's a big process involved, right? You get asked pre-questions, and because especially like Jill, she's never met me before. She needs to know something about me to get started with, right? That she has to explore more.
Exactly.
She picked up from my responses. They give you a whole bunch of questions to ask you, right? She picked up from
Yes.
that deliberate living was very important. It resonated with her. When she said deliberate living, she didn't just mention this as, oh, Syl is into, I don't know, fish frying or whatever. Not just as one thing that Syl is. I mean, it wasn't just like another point. No, it was something that she mentioned because it had connected with her deliberate living, because it's a self-evident sensibility. It's a Moreness point. She picked up on that. That's why I mentioned it. I said, oh, glad you mentioned that. It's a big deal. Even though I had to kind of squeeze in my reaction to it. But she picked up on that. So there's a Moreness, that the implication of Moreness living and her picking up on its profoundness, which you could hear from what she said it. Very important. Very big deal. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. So, I got a lot to talk about with Jill. We're going to, share. I know I'm almost thinking that I might just start to do Way of Impeccability with Jill. We got 20 episodes, Beena.
Yes.
There's what? How many modules? Well, it's not 20. I think it's, but overall, actual sessions, it's more than 20, but still. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's an interesting idea. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but you know, that's it.
No, it is something that. Anyway, well, that is on this note. Okay, we are on time, and we are actually trying to be on time. It was a good day, and it is a good
It's
day.
a special
We are
day.
open to receive so much more also into our lives, and we are ready. And that is a big deal when you are once you are ready and you give this message out in the universe that okay, I'm ready to receive and I'm receptive. Things happen in your life. Thank you so much. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Sil. And thank you, Grain. And thank you, everyone. Ramsey, Janet, and I don't know, okay, whoever is going to watch us recorded also. Please do like and comment and share also.
They're like
Please.
25. They're like 25 sessions, Bean. So
Wow. Okay.
we can always go more. They have the flexibility to go more. So actually, this does become a very viable idea. We'll think about it. We'll think about it. We'll think
Yes.
about
Okay.
it. You know, because
Okay.
in a half an hour, we'll basically
Yeah.
just get to talk about the title. You know what I mean? We won't necessarily go into it. We just touch on the surface of it, right? And there won't be any repeat backs and takeaways and all this, you know. I mean, I'll just basically be going through Way of Impeccability, right? Just talking about the chapter, the session, right? Like, right, like in other words, to do
Yes.
a half an hour because there's an introduction and all of this clarity of intent. It's very easy to fill up an half an hour on clarity of intent, yes?
Oh, oh, even if it is a bit difficult, it's a big task.
Exactly, exactly. You know, and I'll talk to the senior vice president, you know, my guy in charge. I'll ask him about this. I've got his personal cell phone number.
Wow.
Yeah. His job, Beena, his entire job is to take care of me. That's it.
Yes.
What I want things done. What I like this kind of stuff to talk to him about this kind of stuff. That's the job. You understand? So I'm really important to them. In other words, that they're senior vice president, the number 3 guy in the whole company. It's not a small company. Is devoted. His job is to
Yes.
take care of me. It's amazing. Oh, part of this too, I forgot to mention, is that at some point, well, once you've done a bunch of shows, he said, they fly me out if I want to go. It's optional. They'll fly me to New York, put me up there in a hotel for a couple of days, all expenses paid for an in-person interview with Jill.
And you are going.
I said, yes, this sounds great. This sounds great.
Yes. Yes.
Now, very exciting. Very exciting. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. So just, again, that to fly somebody out, all expenses, they putting them up. New York is not a cheap place, right? Um, this is not as an insignificant cost to them. Yes. Uh,
Yes.
so it's an indication of the big dealness of what's involved with being professional of the year. Yeah. They want to get an in-person interview is them getting maximum value for them out of the profession, right? It's part of that. It's very cool. It's very cool. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right, we better go. We better go.
Yes.
We better go. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Bye-bye,
See you guys
everybody.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye, everybody. Very excited. Getting to see the start of a magical path. Remember,
Yes.
this is the start. We don't
This
often
is the
get to
start.
be there at the start of things, but later we can say, you know what? I was there when it started.
Yes. Yes.
I was there when it started. Somebody mentioned something, and I said, Lisa made a post about William Shatner when he went up in the forget what it's called now. He orbited the Earth, in other words. He went out into space. I forget the name of the company, the rocket, right? It was Amazon's
Yes.
thing that they sent him up into space. And he shared, right? She shared what he said afterwards about this. Well, I actually said it at the time. How transformative this was. He thought he'd be the happiest thing. He did, Star Trek and all of this, and about being in space. He thought he'd be massively excited, but he said he was actually profoundly sad. Right? And it's a long post, a very cool thing that he shared. But so I said to Lisa, I was there. I watched him live when he came out of that the whatever it was called, whatever you call it, the rocket or whatever. Right? I was there when they interviewed him. He was in tears. He was in tears. He was
Yes.
truly affected. But I was happy to say I was there. It just was coincidental. It's a trivial thing because I was just scrolling down Facebook earlier before the interview because I didn't want to get involved in the whole project. So Beena said, just chill, just relax, do nothing. All right, so I was just scrolling down the feed and I saw Lisa's post. I said, I was there. Well, likewise, Norma, Janet, Ramsey, and of course me. You can say, I was there when it started. It's a fun idea. Just for me, it appeals to me. I don't know.
Yes.
I like that idea.
Yes.
All right. Bye bye, everybody. Love you all dearly and tremendously. Bye bye.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Now.
See you soon. See you soon.